Flush setting for round stones, usually faceted stones. It's possible to do this with cabochon, but it looks a lot better with faceted stones. Flush setting, formerly known as gypsy setting, is simply the stone being set right into the plate. So right into the object, into the ring, into any plate, but completely embedded without any added bezels or claws. So first, to hold our piece, we're going to warm up some thermoplastic or setter cement. This is setter cement. You can heat it up with an alcohol lamp or a heat gun or even a hair dryer. And thermoplastic you warm up in boiling water. So it's your preference what you use. Both have advantages and small issues to work around. If your piece is big enough, you may not need to do this step, but for small samples or small earrings, it's nice to do it. That way you have something to hold on to while working. Let it cool completely and mark where you want to set. When you are learning, do not try to set all your stones at once, meaning doing all of your drilling and all of your opening. You want to do one at a time to learn. So with a small ball burr, do a pre-drill. So any size, 0.5, 0.6, just to do a small pre-drill for your drill bit to have somewhere to go in. You can use a punch as well, but I found a small ball burr much more precise. And then you're going to drill, any size drill, as long as it is much smaller than the stone you're about to set, obviously. As an option, you can drill before putting your piece into the setter cement. That way it's not going to come through the hole as you are drilling. Next, we're going to enlarge the hole using a series of ball burr. We're going to start small and increase slowly, not to burn our burrs. So the last burr we want to use will be 0.5 millimeters, roughly smaller than our stone. When measuring a ball burr or any burr, we have to be very careful to measure on the largest part of the burr. So the largest part of the circle, as well as not in between the teeth, but on the teeth, so at the largest, because if you see as I'm rotating, the size changes. That is why you may have discrepancies from what you're wanting to purchase and what you're measuring. And next, we're simply enlarging using each of the burrs. You can start sideways and then quickly go and use the burr up and down, not to travel side to side if the positioning of your stone is important. For example, in the middle of a band, you don't want to be closer to one side than to the other. So not to travel, you want to use your burr mostly up and down. Now the trick here is to go deep with each burr. One of the key issue with flush setting is to go deep enough. Of course, not too deep, but for the burr aspect, for the ball burr aspect, you need to go nice and deep. If it gets hot with the friction, it may start to loosen the setter cement or thermoplastic. So sometimes I just cool it with my finger and I keep going, taking little breaks not to loosen everything. On the last ball burr, again 0.5 millimeters smaller than our stone, you need to go about 3/4 deep of the ball burr, 3/4 of the ball burr deep. If you're setting a stone that has a very deep pavilion, a really big belly, then you have to go even deeper. So you need to have a good look at your stone, or a thick girdle. You'll have to go deep as well. At this point, your stone will sit just on top, and not going just hovering on top. The girdle will sit just on top. The next step is to use a heart burr, 0.1 smaller than the size of our stone. This method is perfect for cubics, diamonds, sapphires, fairly hard stones. If you're doing something more fragile, you may use a setting burr of the same size of your stone. But we're using the heart burr, 0.1 millimeter smaller than the stone. The next step is the tricky part. You need to enter the metal with your heart burr and be very delicate at the entrance. So you need to enter either very straight and plunge down and not wiggle, or enter on an angle, and once you're in, then you straighten. So either way is good as long as the surface is kept really nice and clean. So you don't want to wiggle as you enter, you want to enter cleanly, and once you're in, you can wiggle around and around a little bit to make room for the stone, because the stone is bigger than our burr. Remove all the little bits of metal created. Make sure there's no pieces of metal inside, because it will prevent the stone from clicking in or going in. And then you try to put the stone in. To handle those small stones, we use an old burr with a little bit of wax at the end. So this is beeswax mixed with powder from your charcoal brick. Used to be cigarette ashes, but now charcoal brick will do. So you mix a little bit of wax, any wax really, a soft wax, with a little bit of that, and it sticks just enough for you. And you can pick up your small stones and deposit them on top. So at the moment it's almost going in. It's just sitting above, again, even closer than before. If you go on an angle, it might even want to go in. If it goes right in, it might be too big for you. Keep on going, though, don't abandon, but you want it to just be above going in. Please use your loop for this project. That's what it's for. Next is to use a pusher to push the stone in and to click it in. A brass pusher made with just a simple piece of brass wire and a handle works really well, or you can use wood, but I definitely prefer the brass pusher. With a fragile stone, then you want to use wood or chopstick. So we're just pushing right onto the table, and I can see that it wouldn't go in. So now we have to go back and forth as long as it takes with our burr. So I'm opening with my hard burr, and then also you can use a bigger ball burr at the size of your stone, and very, very gently, while holding the burr in your hands only, just very gently shave around the entrance of the stone. And we do this until our stone will click into place. So the clicking is a safety measure, if you will. We're still going to rub the metal against it, but the clicking is an extra safety measure so our stone doesn't come out. And next is to take an old burr or broken burr and to round the tip nicely, not too pointy, not too fat either. And we're going to polish that tip. So sand it first and then polish your tip. You can hold it in a pin vise, and then you will be burnishing all around. So first you can do a little bit of an angle downwards, and then eventually you will straighten it, and you're going to push quite hard onto the metal to burnish all around, and that's what's going to bend down and solidify our stone in. This is obviously an important step, so take your time, but do press quite hard and keep going until the stone doesn't move anymore. The stone doesn't rock, the stone doesn't move at all anymore. If you slip, that's quite common to slip. We'll deal with that towards the end. So if your stone is not getting tight in there and it keeps on getting loose, it's possible that your hole was too big. If a hole is too small, then obviously it's not going to go in. If the hole is too big, it may never get solid. Another reason for things not working out for you is not to have the opening, the setting deep enough into the metal. Now I'm testing it with the wax, trying to pull it out and tapping it to make sure it's well set, and again checking with my loop. Next, to clean the plate around is to use a green or gray pre-polisher, rubber wheel called pre-polisher, and to sharpen it nice and flat on your drilling stone. You want to go around this and you cannot touch the stone, and you want to go very gently with your rubber wheel so you're not creating grooves. Only diamonds could be touched by abrasives, whether it's tripoli or a sandstick or rubber wheel. Other stones will get damage on the surface junctions. So you clean all around, and then you go back with your burnisher to give that bright look all around the stone. And then you need to remove this from your setter cement by heating it, or your thermoplastic in the same way. And then you can soak your piece in denatured alcohol to remove all of the setter cement. You can polish before removing, and of course you'll have to touch up your polish after. And then the ultimate test to see if your stone will stay in is to put it in the ultrasonic, because it will come out if it wasn't set properly.